Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Thursday morning. Bo Wolf, Zach Berman, as we prepare for Monday night's big game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, two of the teams with the best records in the NFL, a Super Bowl rematch, the Kelce Bowl. Zach gets to go to Kansas City. You going to have some barbecue?
I might. I was actually, you're going to laugh at this. I was considering driving out to Lawrence, Kansas to see the Fog Allen Fieldhouse. I love college basketball arenas, and I've never been to the Fog Allen Fieldhouse. So I have some time to kill on Monday, and I figured...
Oh, not for a game, just to go.
Well,
just
yeah, because I'm not getting in until late Sunday night, and then I leave early Tuesday morning. So I have like Monday until, from 6 a.m. to like 2 p.m. to do whatever I would like to do, I suppose. And I was thinking of going out to Lawrence, Kansas to see Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
So you are staring down a late night primetime game, an early morning Tuesday flight, getting back to Philadelphia and doing this show Tuesday afternoon, and you're choosing potentially to wake up at 6 a.m. on Monday and drive to go through an empty college basketball stadium.
Well, so the part about waking up, that's when I wake up. I'm not going to apologize for that. I've worked with you for 5 years. I get up early. And
you're incapable of napping.
We're dealing with that. Like we understand that.
We're dealing with that.
The part about going out to Lawrence, Kansas, yeah, I don't know.
I feel like your wife Emily and I need to start a support group for people who really want Zach to sleep more.
I gotta be honest with you, okay? What I wanted to do in Kansas City was go to the Negro League Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
One of my favorite places to go. And the Eagles don't go to Kansas City very often. I've only, actually, my 12 years covering the team, they've only been in Kansas City one time, 2017. The problem is it's closed on Mondays. And I don't land until 9 o'clock on Sunday. So then it's like, all right, how are you going to spend that from, like I said, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Monday?
Shout out to Buck O'Neil.
What's that?
Shout out to Buck O'Neil.
Shout out to Buck O'Neil. Well said. So there are a handful of things that I'm exploring, but Lawrence, Kansas is like 50 minutes away. I've always wanted to see Fog Allen Fieldhouse. I think the Palestra is, the greatest college basketball arena. I've been to Cameron. I've been to the Smith Center.
Now, do you know that they have tours?
They do have tours.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done some work on this. But to answer your question, am I going to have some
if you want, Zach, I have, I run the Kansas basketball team on What If Sports College Dynasty. If you want to just take a look around the team that I have, you can do that instead and save yourself some travel.
Yeah, Paul Pierce and Eric Chenoweth and Jacques Vaughn.
No. These are made up players.
Oh, okay. This is fascinating.
Two-time national champs, no big deal.
We'll unpack that during the offseason. I'm curious about that. We'll actually stack up your made-up team against the top March Madness team.
Sure.
In March. But no, I might go to barbecue. Actually, there's a place Andy Reid has recommended in the past. A Q something or something, Q37. It begins with Q. And I know...
You love Q.
I know Arthur Bryant's is a popular place, but if there's any listeners in Kansas City, Missouri, or in Kansas City, Kansas, for that matter.
Oklahoma Joe's, I believe, is a big...
Okay.
I think that's an Andy McCullough, different Andy recommendation.
Andy McCullough is one of the best there is. So
might as well
he
ask
says that, I'll actually shoot him a text.
You should.
I will.
All right. Zach, we got a lot to get to on this show. We're going to dive a little bit into the defensive side of this matchup against the Chiefs offense, why I think that Sean Desai is the most interesting person in this matchup for the Eagles. We'll have our draft of the two different rosters and see what else shenanigans we can get into. Are you ready to discuss this matchup? You want to talk about Nick Sirianni and his history here?
I'll just say this real quick with Sirianni because I am ready to discuss this matchup. Nick Sirianni, as we all know by now, is the sentimental type, right? He was emotional during the national anthem when the Eagles last played the Chiefs, reflecting on all that he's accomplished in his, or I shouldn't say all that he's accomplished, all that he's done in his career, all that he's accomplished. But the way he framed it is like he dreamed to be in that moment, right? Coaching the Super Bowl. Well, Nick Sirianni got his start as an NFL coach in Kansas City. He met his wife in.
I was actually going to say maybe that's where you're going to go. That's how you're going to spend Mondays. You're going to find the apartment complex where they met each other.
I mean, that could be an interesting story, but I don't know if I'll pursue that one. But there are some other Nick Sirianni Kansas City angles that I have in my spreadsheet that I could pursue on there. But the point being, so this is his first time going back there as a head coach. And for someone who entered the league as a quality control coach in Kansas City, got his break there, met his wife there. His wife's family is from the Kansas City area. I imagine there's probably a little bit of sentimentality for Nick going back, right? I mean, this is a Super Bowl rematch. This is a huge game for the Eagles. I get all that, but this is also he's accomplished so much in his career that whenever it's like if you returned to Wake Forest for a day, you'd probably get a little sentimental if you return to your old office in the NovaCare complex, on when you first started. Yeah, you'd probably get a little sentimental. So
maybe.
Okay.
I think they've changed things around a little bit. I'm also in that building plenty.
Yeah, but not in that specific area.
Sure.
So, if I was down in
that's not how but that's not how football coaches think.
But that's my point. That's why I brought this up, because I do think Nick has some humanity and self-awareness that I think some coaches try to conceal. There aren't a lot of coaches who would cry during the national anthem. Nick cried during the national anthem because it mattered to him. He wears it on his sleeve.
I think there's a different angle here that I'm viewing it through for Sirianni's prism. He talked about leading into that Super Bowl that, he did feel some kind of way when Andy Reid let him go and took that over. Like, he took a little bit of umbrage to that. Now, they had connected since then, and they had obviously mutual respect for each other. But I think, when we talked to Fletcher Cox the other day, and it's like, he knows that the media is going to make a lot about this being the Super Bowl rematch and like the Eagles looking for revenge, and these two teams are totally different. I think the one guy who is looking for like a measure of revenge is Nick Sirianni, because Nick Sirianni was outcoached in that Super Bowl. There were mistakes made, not just by him from a game management perspective, not going for the end zone at the end of the first half, not going forward on 4th and 3, leading to the punt for the big Kadarius Toney return, but also and this leads into why I think Sean Desai is under scrutiny, or not under scrutiny, but in the spotlight in this game. I mean, defensively, they were completely outcoached, that side of that matchup. And on the other side of the ball, I think you could make the case that even though the Eagles moved the ball and scored a lot of points and were really efficient on offense, it wasn't like they had like out-schemed the Chiefs defense, right? It was a lot of like great players making really finely tuned great plays. And I think that knowing the story of Andy Reid after the bye, I feel like Nick Sirianni is having that like on his wall, and it's like, how can I outcoach the guy who's so good after the bye? This is my chance to sort of get a measure of revenge, because we know that he is motivated by stuff like that.
That's a great point, and that's probably a more apt point for the show than the going back home angle, because you're right, and to build upon that, I think there's a part of Nick that like knows that Andy Reid holds a certain reverence in that building. And like, he was literally the head coach when the building was built. Like, Andy was influential in that. And, I was watching yesterday the ALLCITY NFL show when Andy Reid was on, and Andy Reid, it was kind of framed to him that here are these two organizations that like he built, that he put, that they run on his philosophy. And that is true. Like the way Andy Reid thought, the way Andy Reid built rosters, the way Howie Roseman speaks about Andy Reid, the way Jeffrey Lurie speaks about Andy Reid. That's not to take anything away from him, but there's probably a part of Nick Sirianni that's like, hey, look at me. There's not a coach who's been like more successful over the past 2 seasons than I have been. So
I agree with that. And now I'm trying to look through it. Like, I think that this could be like Andy Reid has beaten Nick Sirianni twice, right? 2-0, 2001, yes. And then in the Super Bowl. I don't think he's lost to another coach 3 times. I mean, I guess McCarthy maybe he lost twice in 21, and then the Minshew game last year.
Yes.
But that's a division rival. Like he hasn't beaten Andy Reid. I think there is a little bit of something there from Nick.
Good point. And Andy Reid has never lost to the Eagles since now it's a small sample size. It's 4 games, right? But he's never lost. He beat Chip Kelly in 2013. He beat Doug Peterson in 2017, and then he beat Sirianni in 21, and then in the Super Bowl last year. So, look, the time's his.
Very nice. All right, Zach, if you wanted to follow Zach to Fog Island Fieldhouse on Monday and just sort of creep around and be the guy who wants to show Zach a picture of himself later on, you could do that. And then if you wanted to then follow him to Arrowhead, you can do that by buying tickets on Game Time, because buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. You know the deal here. We've been talking about it like every day for the past couple months. They've got flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all that good stuff. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. If you are Zach Berman and you want to take your son to the Sixers game on short notice, you pull up Game Time, you get yourself a good deal. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Zach, let's talk Desai for a minute.
Yes, let's do this.
We don't need to necessarily drive the bus over Jonathan Gannon right now and relitigate that defensive performance in the Super Bowl.
I think that litigation's already occurred.
It is true that it was the worst performance of the season for the Eagles. Mm-hmm. They let the Chiefs do pretty much whatever they wanted. In the second half, they had 3 touchdown drives on their first 3 drives, and on the last drive, they did exactly what they wanted. Even though the Eagles wanted to let them score, they ran the clock out and kicked a game-winning field goal. And the entire purpose of this defensive season for the Eagles is, can they do something different against the best quarterbacks in the league? Because that is what hampered them over the first 2 years of Sirianni's coaching term here with the Eagles under Jonathan Gannon. We saw it in Miami, right? And now, with extra week to prepare and an interesting problem to solve here for a Chiefs offense that is not great on the outside.
Yeah.
Right? This is all about Travis Kelce. I am just fascinated to see what Desai cooks up. Is it going to be James Bradbury as the man who is it's like a box and one basically that they're doing? Like he's on Travis Kelce and they're rolling coverage his way. Are they going to just say it's Bradley Roby and Kevin Byard is going to get a shot and Eli Ricks is going to get a shot? Or are they going to just throw whatever they can at him? And we know that the one place where this Chiefs offense is a little bit vulnerable is those tackles on the outside. Are they going to scheme up something for other guys besides Hassan Reddick and Joshua to have a chance to win? I just think that I expect a lot of different stuff from Sean Desai in this game. I sort of expect to be impressed, not in the way of they're definitely going to get after them, but I expect him to throw a lot of different stuff here. And I think that is the most fascinating part of this matchup for me.
It's a good point. And I was watching that Super Bowl game last night, and something that stood out because I watched the Chiefs-Dolphins game earlier this week, and this is a different Chiefs offense than what we saw in the Super Bowl last year. Personnel-wise, you mentioned it, the tackles are different. They have some different faces at wide receiver in there. So I look at it like there are vulnerabilities with that Chiefs offense, but also the Dolphins did a good job containing Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce did not have a big game against them. Yet Patrick Mahomes still made plays when he needed to make plays, and they were getting production from Rashee Rice. So I think that I am curious to see what creativity Desai has, in particular, what he tries to do against Travis Kelce. The Dolphins game's relevant to point out here because that's Vic Fangio, right? And that's the Sean Desai defense. So what does he have cooking for Travis Kelce? Are you saying, all right, if Mahomes is going to try to beat us, let him try to beat us with Sky Moore and Rashee Rice and Kadarius Toney, and not Travis Kelce going off. The other thing, when you look at the Super Bowl last year and in the second half in particular, the Chiefs ran the ball especially well.
Yeah.
No one's really run the ball effectively against the Eagles this year. Part of that has been because teams have decided to pass the ball. And when you have Patrick Mahomes, I imagine you want to pass the ball. Mahomes
I think it's a little bit of both. Like I think teams are passing so much because they know that the Eagles' run defense is so good, but also what you just said. I think it's a little bit of both.
Sure. And so the Eagles could say, like, there was that old Jonathan, it's not old, the Jonathan Gannon expression that anytime they hand the ball off is like a win for the Eagles offense, right? Jonathan Gannon, when he played against the Chiefs in 2021.
Which is an interesting thing for him to say because his run defense was very not good.
Well, so that's the game I'm pointing out. If you recall, in 2021, the Eagles played the Chiefs. Was it a Thursday night or Sunday night?
I think it was a Thursday night.
It was a Thursday night, and the Chiefs ran the ball down the Eagles' throat for a bit there.
Right, and there was also like, they were giving them like 12-yard completion after 12-yard completion, and that's part of the problem with that I had with Gannon is that it was so dogmatic about all we want to do is make you like matriculate the ball down the field,
12 plays,
right? And like at some point you got to get out of that, like against the best offenses, and it happened in the Super Bowl. You can't just keep doing that. Like Patrick Mahomes will do that. You have to change things up. You can't be quite so like married to your philosophy.
And part of that, frankly, is that philosophy with the Eagles last year. A lot of it was about, there's going to be a turnover eventually. There's going to be a penalty on the offense that pushes them back into second and long or third and long. The Eagles' defense this year has not done a good enough job forcing turnovers, especially in recent weeks. Right, earlier in the season, they did it particularly well. You think about
I have a hard time like parsing how you can be good at forcing turnovers. There is luck involved. Now I think
they haven't done it at a high rate.
And getting the ball out, like that is the best way to get fumbles, right? That matters. And the Chiefs defense has been much better at sacking the quarterback than the Eagles defense has. But in terms of like getting interceptions, I feel like there's a lot of luck involved there.
You're right. And by the way, like Andy Reid is going to be looking closely, obviously, at this Eagles defense. He sees these moving parts in the secondary. And I think the big variable with the size group is now that you get Bradley Roby back, presumably, does that stabilize things? And are you able to be a little more creative in the back end because you're not mixing and matching parts like just to try to get by? And because they've been doing that. And so now you have, like in theory, the benefit of having 4 or 5 starters in the secondary being 30 and older and as experienced as these guys are, is they've been
everybody can have dinner together at 5 p.m.
an early bird special.
Yeah.
Okay. Joya's laughing. Joya loves your sense of humor, by the way.
Well, most people do.
No, I wouldn't say most, but you do appreciate a good audience, right?
I do.
Yeah. So the benefit of that is communication should not be an issue. That they've seen things that they can adjust, that they can adapt. That when teams are, for instance, I think of the Chiefs of the Super Bowl game last year, the Eagles had communication issues, right?
Yeah.
And there was that one touchdown on the right side when Avonte Maddox, there was a communication issue there. And the Eagles can't afford for that to happen. And Andy Reid, he's a very creative play designer, and he'll find ways to isolate matchups like he did with Sky Moore last year. They're going to try to do that.
Yeah. Now, like the story of this Chiefs season so far has been that the defense is carrying the offense to not carrying is probably strong, but has been the better side of the ball.
Yeah.
And the offense has struggled of late. But I am not buying that in this matchup because of the time that the Chiefs have to prepare for this game, because they have the best quarterback who's ever lived, I think. Like
I agree.
I am not willing to say like, oh, the more important thing here is like I also have a lot of faith that the Eagles can move the ball on the Chiefs defense, right? So to me, I'm more worried about the Chiefs offense, even though they have not been as good as their defense.
I agree. Best quarterback to ever live. And can I do a little flex here? Our sickos.
They know this, but yeah, go ahead.
Our sickos know this, but look, we're building this PHLY show up. We have a new audience that watches, that listens, and you might not be familiar with this story. Okay, Eagles-Cowboys game a few years ago, primetime game on a Sunday. Get in early Saturday morning because I want to go over to TCU in Fort Worth to see TCU against Texas Tech because I've been hearing about this Texas Tech quarterback whose arm is otherworldly. And I remember someone saying, his dad. Like his dad played in MLB. So I went. I saw Patrick Mahomes. It was like a triple overtime game, TCU versus Texas Tech. Actually, TCU's quarterback that day was Kenny Hill, whose dad also played in Major League Baseball.
Glenn Allen?
What? No, I think Ken Hill. Remember the pitcher?
Tyreek?
No, Ken. But so anyways, Kenny Hill was on TCU.
Nodding?
And then, what? And Mahomes was, Notting Hill. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I never saw that.
Not a good joke.
I never saw that movie.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's not like a movie that you have to see.
Is that Hugh Grant? Is that who it is?
It is, yeah. Julia Roberts.
And what's it about?
She is basically Julia Roberts, and he's just some random schlub, and they get together.
Sounds like a feel-good story.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a horn dog like you.
Bo. Two people fall in love. That's a wonderful thing, right? Why do you have to make it so so sinister here? Goodness. So in any event, I go over and I was in awe. Like the arm talent was otherworldly. Now that Texas Tech defense that Cliff Kingsbury had, not particularly good. But man, Mahomes was making throws that day that you said, this guy's special. And I kept saying that in that draft that year. That was the Trubisky draft and the Deshaun Watson draft and Mahomes. And I kept saying, like, I saw Mahomes in person. I know I'm heavily influenced by this, but he makes throws that I've never seen. And here he is, the best quarterback ever. So a little flex on my part.
And, of course, Patrick Mahomes, when he is accepting that Super Bowl trophy, he likes to thank Zach Berman for discovering him and making him exist.
But you tease me sometimes for going to these college football games. Last year,
I tease you for that.
Last year here's an example. Last year when the Eagles played the Cardinals, I got into Phoenix early that morning so I could go to the Arizona State-Washington game. You know who Washington's quarterback was?
Michael Penix.
Yeah, Michael Penix Jr. He's for my money.
Got to be careful when you say that one.
I'm not familiar with the joke here. He's as fun of a quarterback to watch in college football this year. That Washington offense with Kalen DeBoer is awesome. So yeah, I saw that in person. And when we have our 2 months of draft shows this year, I promise you, I will be talking about some of those players that I saw on the field that day.
I believe that. Now, Zach, I flip-flopped this year. I was supposed to read Wheelhouse before Game Time. I read Game Time. Why don't you read Wheelhouse?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that there, but I didn't want to correct you when you were going because you gave such a good ad read. But literally...
because it goes Game Time, Wheelhouse, Game Time on the list, and I just, it's a bit of a confusing spreadsheet.
Well, something not to be confused about is this morning... I was in my son's room. We were talking about that
reminds me. Let me give this to you now before I forget.
How about this? This is perfect for the read.
There you go.
These cards that Bo just gave me, he got from Wheelhouse, and he's so generous. Bo is such a great guy that he's giving these cards to my son Reed, who is really into cards. And so this morning he was asking me about the Sixers Celtics game. I'm very grateful for these. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
He's going to write you a nice thank you note.
He doesn't need to. Please,
I promise you,
please leave him alone.
He's got to learn at a young age to write good thank you notes. So he was asking me about the Sixers Celtics game, and then we were talking about this weekend going to Wheelhouse and the cards that he's going to bring because they have their trade day, and it's kind of endearing. It's from 3 to 5. So I showed him the Instagram ad where it's at 3 to 5. And he said, well, there'll be 8-year-olds there. And I was like, what are you talking about? He says, it says 3 to 5. And I was like, no, that's the time. That's not the age. But he thought that was the age. So he was ready to be, he's 6, so he's ready to be like the big shot at the, at the thing. But Wheelhouse is the go-to.
Wait, so he wants to hang out with 8-year-olds even though he's 6? Big man on campus.
Yeah, no, he was, because last time we were there, the kids were older.
I see.
They were like 8 and 9, and yeah.
And he brought the slop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he was a little intimidated, and now he's going to be ready.
He's going to bring his best stuff for those 8-year-olds.
Yes, Wheelhouse is our go-to sports card gift and apparel shop in the Delaware Valley. Their motto is "Cards and Community," because love of sports unites us all. They carry all of your favorite card brands like Topps, Chrome, Baseball, and Mosaic Football, as well as t-shirts, hats, hoodies from brands like Mitchell & Ness, 47 Brand, Junk Food, Starter, and Shy Vintage Sports. If you're looking to grade your sports card collection, Wheelhouse offers PSA grading submissions. They also host tons of different family-friendly events and birthday parties every month. Stop in to either of their stores in Wayne or Westchester. Open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. Use code PHLY and get $10 off any purchase of $25 or more in store. Also, be sure to give them a follow on Instagram at Wheelhouse Cards.
All right, Zach, let's get into our draft, and we can have a few more discussions about the Chiefs as we go through this. But this is an interesting week. I think maybe it seems to me like there are more big disparities in position groups than most weeks here.
So I think my spreadsheet up.
I think it's going to be interesting. You ready for the rock, paper, scissors?
Yes, I did some self-scouting over the weekend.
Yeah, what'd you learn?
Well, I'm not going to tell you the answers.
Tell me after.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock beats scissors, 1-0 me. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Paper, paper. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissor, scissor. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Your paper beats my rock. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Your paper beats my rock. You get it.
Okay. You expect me to go paper first?
I promise you that I'm not thinking about it.
Okay. In the past, I think you've anticipated my paper first.
That's incorrect. So, I promise you the thought has never, ever crossed my mind. I bet Zach's going paper here.
Okay.
I'm just going through the motions.
Okay. All right. Going through the motions. All right, let's do it.
Because I'm a writer, and so you think that I'm going to do paper first.
It wouldn't be. That's actually why I go paper first, right? Because I'm very loyal to paper.
Okay. You no longer write for a paper, though.
No, but shout out to Mike Jensen. Mike Jensen had his last column in the Inquirer. Mike Jensen is awesome. He's been very influential to me. And besides that, just as someone who reads his stuff, who loves Philly hoops, who loves good writing and good reading, I have such reverence and appreciation for Mike Jensen. So.
One of the greats.
Yeah.
We were just talking the other day about like the nobility of Mike Jensen's beat. I think he had a great career, and congratulations to him.
Congratulations to him, and he's not done. He's writing a book that I can't wait to read as well.
Oh no! Is he writing about Liggins too?
No, he's not writing about Liggins. I actually know what he's writing about,
and
good. It's gonna be a good one.
Okay.
Yep.
You have the first pick.
Okay. So
I don't remember. Do we go 1-2? Or is it just 1-1-1?
I think I forget.
Just go 1-1-1, right?
1-1-1.
Okay.
So I'm going where I think is the biggest disparity in this game, and it's not a premium position, which we typically focus on early on in these drafts. But give me Travis Kelce. Okay.
Interesting.
I'm going tight end here. The Eagles don't have Dallas Goedert, so you're looking at Travis Kelce, perhaps the best tight end in NFL history. Well, no, Robert Gronkowski's the best in NFL history, but Kelce's on the Rushmore. And he's such a central figure in this game from like the game planning perspective. Also, my sister's watching. She texted me that there's
shout out to Jenna.
Yeah, shout out to Jenna. There's a lot of interest and speculation about whether Taylor Swift will wear an Eagles jersey or a Chiefs jersey. I imagine
she's going to wear a Chiefs jersey.
Yeah, but
I think the parents are the bigger question.
Yeah, I actually heard Jason speaking to Travis about the weekend in South America, and Scott, who's Taylor's father, was
friends with Howard Eskin, I believe.
Friends with Howard Eskin. Okay.
Yeah.
I figured they'd be friends with Ross Tucker because they both went to the same.
Of course.
They're from Why I'm Missing. Also, Chad Henne.
Of course.
But point being that he was a linebacker turned center. just like Jason Kelce. So Jason said, I got to catch up with some center talk.
There you go.
But yeah, Eagles fan.
Well, he should wear the DeAndre Swift jersey.
That'd be great because it says Swift on the back. I like that. Yeah.
Thanks for putting those two together. That's good.
Yes. But from a football perspective, Travis Kelce is going to be such a key matchup here. You saw what he did in the Super Bowl last year. You asked yesterday if I thought the Eagles would have Bradbury on. What do you think the Eagles do?
I think we're going to see just a lot of different stuff.
Okay.
I do think we're going to see some Bradbury there. I think I am a little bit reticent of the Bradley Roby thing, and I know I wrote about that today, which you can read on all PHLY. If you're a diehard, got the rundown of all the people on defense and special teams. I just want to pump the brakes a little bit on like Bradley Roby's going to solve the nickel position. I know we talked about it yesterday, but there's a reason this guy was on the street in week 4, right? Like I don't know that Eli Ricks is that much worse than Bradley Roby right now. But I think we'll see some Bradbury. I think we're going to see a lot of different stuff. I think they're going to try to do what they did against the Dolphins, which was sort of change the picture and not allow Patrick Mahomes to get rid of the ball right away. Mahomes is a little bit different as a quarterback this year than he was last year. He's got the second highest scramble rate in the league. And I think part of that is because those wide receivers are just not very good. So the Eagles are going to have to worry about Mahomes as a runner. But I think we're going to see a little Bradbury.
That would be a new wrinkle because they specifically decided to move him away from the slot. But I went with Travis here.
I think this is Travis Kelce is great. That is not what my first pick would have been.
I just focused on the Delta in positions. I'm really trying to lean into the spirit of these drafts because I don't want it to be predictable where we just go with like edge rusher, offensive line, like the priority positions every week and dismiss some of these other spots. Travis Kelce's a Hall of Fame player, and the Eagles are starting Jack Stoll.
Sure.
End of story.
You know who else is probably a Hall of Fame player? A.J. Brown.
Okay, that's a good one.
And Devontae Smith.
Okay.
The two of them, I'm getting two who are exponentially better than the 2 or 3 who the Chiefs are running out. Now, Rashee Rice is their rookie who's been targeted the second most. From?
What,
SMU.
No, where did he grow up?
Right over there.
Yes. He's a Philly native. He gets associated with Texas because he went to high school in Texas, but he's a Philly native. And between him and Pacheco, who's from Vineland, Andy Reid is building a Philadelphia area offense. Love to see it. So shout out to Andy.
I think if you polled the 32 roster builders in the NFL, would they rather have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jack Stoll, or Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, and Sky Moore? I think they're taking the Eagles group because you're getting 2 over 1. I'm taking the Eagles wide receivers here, and I feel pretty good about that.
You know what? In hindsight, probably should have done that. I see it. I can't dispute it, but I kind of look at Travis Kelce as almost like a wide receiver. But you're right. In the Super Bowl last year, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were both awesome. And A.J. Brown has been terrific. I'm expecting much from Devontae Smith. So, no, that's that.
You know what? We do. It does bounce back. I get 2 picks.
Okay. So you get 2 picks.
Now that I'm looking at the other spreadsheets. And this is a tough call because there's one place that I think there is a big delta, but I can't just let the guy we've just talked about as the greatest quarterback who ever lived sit there on the board. I think Jalen Hurts is fantastic. Maybe the delta here is not as big as it is at a few other positions, but we're talking about the most important position in sports, and I got the best guy who's ever done it. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes.
I can't dispute there. When Patrick Mahomes is up for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, his presenter is just going to stand up and say Patrick Mahomes and go back to his seat.
I don't think that's what will happen.
I mean, there's no argument there.
Yeah, but the person. Oh, you mean like when it's up in the room?
Yes, that's. What
I thought you meant like introducing him.
Oh no.
Here's Andy Reid to introduce Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes.
I meant the presenter.
Yeah, that's fair.
In the room. It's like who do you have to convince? And the thing about the football voting's done kind of behind the scenes, and I'm not a huge fan of Hall of Fame voting in general.
It's, I believe, the worst voting process of all the Hall of Fames.
No, just like in all sports. But I never understood.
And I'm making a different point.
But I never understood it in baseball. Some of these voters who are like, you can't be a first ballot Hall of Famer, so therefore I'm not going to vote for you, right? If you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I also don't understand. We can only have 5, and we have to have 5 every single year. That's not how that's not how it should work either.
Sure. Fair enough.
And one of them should be a very mediocre kicker.
But Mahomes is awesome. Jalen Hurts is awesome too. I think Jalen's going to take this game personally as well. So I'm curious to see. I mean, Jalen, if he has a big game,
got that lock screen on his phone.
Yeah, if he has a big game here, MVP front runner.
Probably so.
So then I should have gone wide receivers first. I admit that I got too cute. I was looking at the injury reports and kind of the delta, the spots. But this is one that I feel good about, even though the Chiefs are getting good edge pressure from Karlaftis and Mike Dana. And Mike Dana has actually been doing some work from the interior.
Yeah, they move all those guys around. Karlaftis as well.
Exactly. I mean, Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. They are the 2 best edge rushers in this game. I think that both of them were miffed by the field conditions last year in Arizona. Shout out to the Sod Father. Or not shout out to the Sod Father. Recognize the Sod Father here, right? But unless that Arrowhead field is just going to be slick and wet,
it would be kind of funny if they did do that. I think that would be a good bit.
I think Hassan Reddick,
they soaked the field.
I think Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat are looking at this and saying, wait, Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith, we are
Penn State.
Well, Donovan Smith went to Penn State. So I was going to say, we are Pro Bowlers. We are all pro caliber players. So give me the Eagles edge rushers.
I think I think there were 2 picks here that made a lot of sense. That was one of them. So I feel good about getting the other one. And it's the flip side of that matchup. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and not have those tackles who you're talking about, who the Eagles can potentially take advantage of. Donovan Smith is sort of a penalty machine. Juwan Taylor is fine, but not great, and has struggled a little bit this year. We know how good Lane Johnson is, and I think Jordan Mailata is better than both of those other Chiefs tackles.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, this is where the delta starts to diminish a bit. So the interior offensive line for the Chiefs is a really good unit, but the Eagles aren't too shabby there either. The Chiefs have really.
Do you think Juergens will? I mean, it's impossible to know. They're going to have their first practice today, but
I imagine Juergens.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think he's going to be back there. The Chiefs' corners are really good this year, but the Eagles have high price corners. The spot where the Chiefs have the biggest delta remaining is linebacker.
Probably so.
But am I going linebacker this early in the draft?
They're also probably missing their best linebacker in Nick Bolton, although those other guys have been pretty good too.
Yeah, Willie Gay. I like Willie Gay.
Drew Tranquil.
Yeah, from Mississippi State, Notre Dame, respectively. So I will go here with the. You know what? I'm gonna go with the Chiefs corners. And
interesting.
I don't love doing that, but those guys are playing really well. McDuffie, who would have I believe would have been the Eagles' pick had the Eagles not traded for A.J. Brown, has turned into one of the top corners in the league.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is that like your opinion as an observer, or is that like through reporting?
Through reporting.
Okay.
Yeah. I think now this is the thing. You could say that they were hell-bent on adding a receiver no matter what. So maybe that would have been Traylon Burks or something. But I think the guy that the Eagles liked in that spot was Trent McDuffie.
Interesting. He doesn't fit sort of the profile. He's got those short arms. Mm-hmm. I think that would have surprised me a little bit. I would have guessed Karlaftis.
Okay. I think it was going to be McDuffie, but I could be wrong too. And again, it's also one of these things where people always tell you after the fact, like when a guy's good, oh, we really liked him, we were going to take him. So now Karlaftis hasn't been bad either.
Interesting. I'm trying to think it through. Also, like just the way that they build things, would they have wanted to go double defense in the first round? feels not like their MO.
Now you don't. Now Traylon Burks was like the best receiver there. They could have.
Not a great spot.
Yeah, frankly,
What
they
an
probably
unbelievable trade.
They
It's
probably
just
would have traded
ridiculous.
back. They probably would have traded.
They probably
back.
would have traded back.
They probably would have traded back, and then you can go Karlaftis, you can go Burks, you can go. George Pickens, right? So there's a handful of different directions there.
All right, tough call here. As you said, the Chiefs' interior line probably just a touch better. I think you could go, Kelce a little bit better than Creed Humphrey, although Creed Humphrey very good. Trey Smith better at right guard than what the Eagles have at right guard. Trey Smith is an interesting draft case study, and he's the flip side to the conversation we had the other day about like if the league is passing on this guy who's super talented, there's probably a reason. We knew what the reason was with Trey Smith. He had that heart condition, but like in the 6th round, like somebody pulled the trigger. This guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And when I did that story going to Tennessee, sort of shadowing an area scout for a day for The Athletic, he was the guy. He was a junior at that point, and it was like, I can say it without saying it. Like this guy is unbelievable. And he stood out when watching that film.
Yeah, big time recruit, big time college player, and when someone's there in the 6th round, not because of like discipline or not even because of like a football injury, right? You kind of, like you said, you take your shot, and if it doesn't work, like how many 5th round picks or 4th round picks do you burn? This is a talented player, right? So I agree with you there. Good job by Andy Reid.
And then we say, but Dickerson and Tooney is pretty close too. You can make a case for Dickerson. So maybe it is not necessarily definitely advantage Chiefs in the interior offensive line.
And Creed Humphrey's one of the top young centers in the league.
Right.
Yeah.
And now defensive tackle, probably Chris Jones is the best of the whole group, but the Eagles group is deeper. You got Jalen Carter, you got Fletcher Cox, you got Jordan Davis. I'm curious to see if Jordan Davis is going to be back up playing a higher number of snaps in this game than he did the last couple weeks when he was hampered by the hamstring. At safety, am I going to hang my hat on the Chiefs guy? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Eagles defensive tackles. So even though Chris Jones is maybe the best of that group, I like the depth there for the Eagles a little bit more, and I think that's the most important position where there is a bit of a difference.
Okay, I like that. That certainly makes sense to me. And I like the Eagles' depth, although, Chris Jones has just been awesome, especially since he's returned.
While you think that over, Zach, I'll tell you quickly about FOCO, because FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season. Overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY for 10% off.
So I will go with the Chiefs' interior offensive line here.
Okay.
And I was debating that because now I'm basically stuck with the Chiefs' offense with Jalen Hurts running it.
Right.
I mean, we'll see what happens at running backs. Moral of the story: I should have gone wide receivers over the Eagles' wide receivers there.
It is one of the fun threads of any game we do when you have a very immediate regret, and it sort of colors the rest of your performance.
Yeah, I feel like that happens often, which
I agree.
Which means that I'm either I need to have more courage in my convictions when I make a pick. Perhaps I need to prepare more. I don't think it's that. I think what I need to do is I need to sell.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think it's that either.
I think I need to sell it when I pick it. That's the thing. It's like when you make a decision sometimes, make it and roll with it.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to do something odd here, Zach, and I think you know what I'm going to do because you teased me about it before the show started. But we've all got our favorites, and on the list at the very top of my favorites in the league, guys, I will pound the table for who are not in the Eagles building, is our man Dave Toub, the greatest special teams coordinator this league has ever seen. The Eagles special teams has been very good this year. I believe 8th in DVOA. Even higher in EPA. I think they're up to 3rd. But the Chiefs, I think, are 6th right now, which is below average for them. Toub is this, like, you just go down the list, a top 3 special teams unit for, like, the past 15 years. I'm going ahead and I'm going to take that little little bit of an advantage instead of worrying about linebacker, safety, or running back. I'm taking the Chiefs special teams.
Okay, Mike Clay, you hear that? I see what's on the field. Bo's going based on reputation. I'm gonna go Chiefs linebackers, and they've invested more in that position. The Eagles are down to Zach Cunningham and Nicholas Morrow. So now I know I'm heavy Chiefs here, but the Chiefs are the defending champs.
Yeah, I am of the opinion that even though we've talked about this really daunting stretch, this is the game. This is the toughest game.
What,
but this is the best. Now, we can talk about implications wise.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the most important game. But in terms of a measuring stick and who is the best team you're playing, this is the best team you're playing.
That is true. This is the best team you're playing.
It's also, and it's a road game. They're coming off a bye. It's the most difficult game.
Yeah, but I was talking to someone earlier this week, and I hate being that person who's talking to someone, I'm not going to tell you who, but this person's kind of connected and knows.
Jeffrey Lurie.
But no, it wasn't Jeffrey Lurie. But this person's connected and knows, and I was like, I was making conversation, and I'm like, big game this week, and they're like, it's the least important of the other games coming up, like this and the Bills. They're basically like, hey, these are the AFC games. All that matters really is that Niners game, the Cowboys game, the Seahawks game.
That's true.
So that's kind of the way the person was referencing it.
Now remember, this is the little bit of extra mattering of this game is that it's a common game with the Lions, which if the Eagles and Lions tie for the top record in the NFC, and they also tie in conference record, then it goes to common opponent record, and the Lions have beat the Chiefs. Yeah. So that's the only thing that comes into play there.
I don't mean to be abrupt for our listeners, but we have 3 minutes today because Nick Sirianni has his press conference at 12:15, and we're about 10-15 minutes away from the facility.
Yeah, and Zach cares more about Nick Sirianni than does you, the loyal listeners and viewers who join us live every single day.
I'm here 5 days a week, all right? You're good. You're seeing a lot of me.
I'm taking the Chiefs safeties. You know how much I like Reed Blankenship, but Kevin Byard, if you read the story today, the most snaps in coverage of any player in the entire NFL this year who has not gotten his hands on the ball yet. It has been a struggle for him this season so far. I'm curious to see how he bounces back, but Justin Reed, Mike Edwards, and Brian Cook, the rookie from Cincinnati. I like what the Chiefs have at safety a little bit more than I like what the Eagles have, so I'm taking those guys. That gives you a chance to get your boy, although both Philly guys, as you're telling me now.
Look what you made me do, okay? It was a cruel summer with what you were with the way you were making fun of me about this person.
If you could only see the Google page that Zach has pulled up on his phone.
But there's been
Taylor Swift songs.
But there's been a love story, and I have a blank space on my roster here, and I'm going to shake it off, okay? Because I knew you were trouble when you did not like this guy when they made the trade. But you know me all too well, and in my wildest dreams, I've been enchanted by this player who, don't blame me, okay? And in December, when we go back to December, maybe it's not going to be the case. But when I watch him in daylight, you need to calm down because I'm going with Swift, DeAndre Swift. Give me the Eagles running back, DeAndre Swift. Okay, the most important Swift in this game. I know the mass audience is going to be following Taylor Swift. I actually, when I picked my daughter up from school yesterday, she wanted Taylor Swift song on, and I put it on Spotify. Actually, it wasn't, it wasn't like a podcast.
I got to tell you something different. I listened for the first time this morning to the Fairy Tale of Philadelphia, the new song from Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce. Absolute banger. It is so good. It's hard to believe how good it is. I give them so much credit. I mean, maybe the best Christmas song in my opinion. They did a good job navigating around a particular pitfall in that song, but the sax at the end, they pulled the whole thing together. I thought it was fantastic.
So DeAndre Swift, you're on my team here, okay? For what I think you are the most important Swift in this game. Not the Swift who's in the box, but the Swift who's on the field.
All right, so Zach, you have Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, and the rest of the Chiefs offense. You've got their wide receivers and their entire offensive line. whereas I have Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco, and the rest of the Eagles offense. I think that's advantage me. We can debate that if you want. On defense, you have the Eagles edge rushers and the Eagles safeties, and then the rest of the Chiefs defense, whereas I have the Chiefs edge rushers and the Chiefs safeties and the rest of the Eagles defense. I've got the Chiefs special teams. You've got the Eagles special teams. A good matchup. And another one that I believe the listeners and viewers would agree is wildly slanted in my favor.
Let's see the game first. Let's not decide this on a Thursday. Let's decide this on a Monday.
Okay. Well, we will do that, and we will be back tomorrow at, 9:30 tomorrow? Another moving it around so Zach can get to a press conference. That's okay. That's the job. We gotta be flexible. We gotta be nimble.
Sean Desai's in focus.
Sean Desai is in focus. We will talk to him tomorrow. Zach, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. For all of us here, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Hit subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.